Hello everyone and welcome to the new session of the lecture series. And today we'll be discussing all the NCERT based multiple choice questions from the topic plant growth and development. Alright, so let's start with the first question. So here they're asking that which of the following statement is not the characteristic of the growth of the organism. Alright. So options are it is an irreversible permanent increase in size of the organ, its part or an individual cell. Okay, so this is true because how is growth is defined? Growth is defined as an irreversible change or a permanent change, okay, or an increase in the size of either the organ or its parts or an individual cell. Alright, second option is it is accompanied by the metabolic process. Alright, what does this mean? Means it consists of both anabolic and catabolic process. Okay. Now, anabolism. What is anabolism mean? Formation of complex compound from the simple compounds. Okay, and what is catabolism means? Reverse of anabolism, where the complex compounds are broken down into simpler compounds. Alright, now third option is it is quantitative and intrinsic, means it is internal. Growth is always internal. External growth is not considered as growth. Okay, what is external growth? So if this is a rock particle, lot of material get deposited on it, dust particle and everything, and then this also increases in size. Okay, but this growth is external. Okay, so only internal growth is considered as growth. It is quantitative and intrinsic. Intrinsic, you can also say it is also controlled by the genetic factors. Alright, fourth option is none of the above. So what should be the correct answer? Correct answer is option D, none of the above. Alright, all these are true. The next question is growth in higher plants take place by, options are by growing point scattered all over the plant body, they are saying. Okay, which is not true because the growing points are, okay, they are confined to a certain region of the plant. And what are these regions known as? These regions are known as meristem. Alright, meristem are of two types. First is shoot apical meristem, and then we have another one, root apical meristem. Alright, and what does this meristem consist of? These meristem consist of undifferentiated meristematic cells. Alright, and these meristematic cells, what they have? They have the ability to continuously divide. They can divide continuously, and this continuous division, okay, leads to growth. Okay, they can divide and this will lead to the growth. How? By increasing the cell number, increasing the size of the cell or whatever parameters. Alright. So, okay, so this option is correct. Now next option is in the dead cells of the plant body. So this is not true. Growth cannot take place by the regions present in the dead cells. Because dead cells, what are? They are metabolically inactive. They are dead. They cannot divide and proliferate and perpetuate. Alright, and the fourth option is in the aerial parts only. This is also not true. Because meristems are also present in the roots. Root apical meristem. Okay, and roots are underground. They are not aerial. Alright, so what should be the correct answer? Correct option is option B. The next question is maximal size in terms of wall thickening and protoplasmic modification are achieved by, options are cells of divisional phase, second is cells of maturation phase, third is cells of elongation phase, and fourth is cells of meristematic tissue. Okay, so here they are talking about the phases of growth. Okay, so there are three phases of growth. First is the meristematic phase. Okay, then we have the elongation phase. And the third phase is known as the maturation phase. Alright, now cells in the meristematic phase. Okay, how they have, okay, what are the characteristics? They are rich in protoplasm. Okay, and they have a conspicuous nucleus. They have conspicuous nuclei, and also they have primary cell wall. Cell wall is primary. Primary cell wall, which are thin and cellulosic. Okay, made up of cellulose. And what happens during elongation phase? There is cell enlargement. Okay, there is a cell enlargement. And what happens? There is deposition of new cell wall material. Okay. Now what happens during the maturation phase? The cells have attained the maximum size or the maximal size. Okay, maximal size in terms of what? In terms of the cell wall deposition or the cell wall thickening. Here they are saying cell wall thickening or cell wall deposition, you can also write. Okay, and protoplasmic modification. So now you should know the answer. Alright, so here they are asking the maximal size in terms of wall thickening and protoplasmic modification are achieved by or in which phase? By the cells of the, okay, by cells of the maturation phase. Okay, so option, what should be the answer? Option B is the answer, cells of the maturation phase. The next question is, which of the following is the site of perception of light and dark during duration in the plant? Okay, so here they are talking about phototropism. Okay, what is phototropism? Okay, when a plant show a physiological response, okay, in response to the relative length of day and night, okay, or duration of light and darkness. All right, so site of perception is site of perception is leaves. All right, so what happens? And which photoreceptor is involved? Photoreceptor involved is phytochrome. Alright, so now the options are root apex, shoot apex, leaves, and flower. So what should be the correct answer? Answer is option C, leaves. The next question is, which of the following statement is not correct about the condition for plant growth? So you have to mention a statement which is not correct. Alright, first option is oxygen helps in releasing metabolic energy essential for growth activities. Alright, so this happens during respiration. Oxygen is involved during the aerobic respiration. So this is true. Second option is nutrients are required by plants for the synthesis of protoplasm and act as a source of energy. This is also true. Now third option is light and gravity affect certain stages of the growth. This is also true. Okay. Light, you can say, give example of phototropism. Gravity, you can say it decides the orientation of the roots and shoot. Orientation of the roots as well as shoots. Okay, and the fourth option is water oxidizes glucose to provide energy. This is not true. So if we talk about glycolysis, glucose is broken down into what? Pyruvate, and this is an anaerobic process. It doesn't even require oxygen also. Okay, so this is not true. Option, okay, so we have to select a statement which is not correct. So answer should be option D. Water oxidizes glucose to provide energy. Now coming to the next question, here they are talking about the arithmetic growth. How is arithmetically growth expressed? Okay, what is the mathematical expression of the arithmetic growth? So these are the options. Alright, so let's talk about arithmetic growth first. So what happens in arithmetic growth? If this is a parent cell, this parent cell divides into two daughter cells. Now what happens? Here one of the cell matures. Okay, this cell will mature. And what happens? The other cell keeps on dividing. So this cell will divide further into two cells. Now what happens? This cell is again mature. Now this cells become mature also. Okay, this was already the mature cell. Again, this cell will divide into two. Okay, one of the cell will mature and the other cell will keep on dividing. So this happens in arithmetic growth. Okay, one of the cell divides whereas the other cells mature. And it can be mathematically expressed by, okay, so what should be the answer? Answer is option A. Length at time t is equal to length at time 0 and growth rate and B. This is the time. Alright, so this is the correct answer. Now coming to the next question, which is in arithmetic growth rate, when length of the organ is plotted against time, the nature of the graph curve is, okay, again let's talk about the arithmetic growth rate. So what happens if the length of the organ, here is the length of the organ, you can say height of any organ, say root. Okay, if this is plotted against the time, we get a linear curve. Okay, a linear curve is obtained. Okay, so options are linear, sigmoidal, parabolic and hyperbolic. So what should be the answer? Answer is linear. Linear curve is obtained. Okay, due to the, okay, when the length of the organ is plotted against the time. The next question is the measure of the ability of the plant to produce new plant material. Okay, is referred to as, these are the options: efficiency index, absolute growth rate, arithmetic growth and the linear growth. Alright, so let's talk about the absolute growth rate first. So absolute growth rate is growth per unit time. Alright, or you can also say the actual growth. Alright, now what is linear growth? Linear growth is the growth of any quantity. When a quantity grows at a constant amount, you can say, or constant pace, okay, at each unit of time. This is known as the linear growth. Alright, when a quantity grows at a constant pace, okay, at each unit of time. Arithmetic growth we have already discussed. So what should be the answer? Answer should be option A. The measure of the ability of plant to produce new plant material is referred to as efficiency index. Now next question is, so here they are saying a primary root grows from 5 centimeter to 19 centimeter in a week. Okay, you can circle this. They are saying in a week. Okay, now what we have to do? We have to calculate the relative growth rate over the period of time. So what is relative growth rate? Okay, so relative means we are comparing it with something here. So in relative growth rate, we are comparing it with the initial parameter or the initial value. So what is the definition of relative growth rate? It is the growth per unit time per unit initial parameter or initial value. Okay. And what is the formula for this? Growth per unit time, okay, divided by the initial value or the initial parameter into 100. Alright. Now they are saying a primary root grows from 5 centimeter to 19 centimeter. Alright, so what is the difference? 19 minus 5 is 14. So it grows in a week, they were saying. So it grows 14 centimeter in a week, means 7 days. So in 1 day, how much it will grow? 14 divided by 7, which is equal to 2. Okay, now we can use this formula. Alright, now 2 is the growth per unit time, or we can also write this as absolute growth. This is also absolute growth. Growth per unit time. So here using this formula, 2 is the absolute growth. Initial value is 5. Okay, this is the initial value. This was the final value. Okay, into 100 again we have to do. So solving this will give you 40%. Alright. So options are 20, 40, 60 and 80. So what should be the answer? Answer is option B, 40%. Now next question is, the exponential growth can be expressed as, okay, this is the formula. Exponential growth, so here they are talking about the geometric growth rate. Alright. Now here they are saying what is the R in this expression. Okay, and the options are relative growth rate and depends on the final size. So this is not true. Okay, final size. Option B is absolute growth rate and depends on the initial size. This is also not true. This is not the absolute growth. Option C is the relative growth and also referred to as the efficiency index. Option D is none of the above. So correct answer should be option C. R indicates the relative growth rate and is also referred to as the efficiency index. Now next question is, the arithmetic growth includes all of the following except. Okay, arithmetic growth we have already discussed. What happens during arithmetic growth? There is a constant growth rate. So this is true. Okay, and a linear curve is obtained. And constant growth rate is observed. Okay, for example, elongation of the root. It takes place at a constant rate. Alright. Now next option is it is found in root and shoot cells. Okay, this is true. Yes, this is true. Third option is its characteristic graph is sigmoidal, and fourth option is it is expressed as, it can be mathematically expressed by this formula. So this is also true. So what should be the answer? Option C. Alright, its characteristic graph is sigmoidal. This is not true because its characteristic graph is linear. Alright, so what should be the answer? Option C. Now coming to the next question, which is growth in the plant primarily is affected by which of the two climatic factors? Okay, now what is climatic factors? They are nothing but the elements of the climate, such as humidity, rainfall, temperature. Okay, now we look at the options. First option is light and gravity. Okay, this is not true. Second is humidity and rainfall. Third is wind and gravity. And fourth is all of the above. Alright, so what should be the correct answer? Answer is option B. Humidity and rainfall are the two climatic factors, okay, which determine the growth in the plant. Now next question is the arithmetic growth includes all. Okay, this we've already discussed. Now next question is question number 13. Okay, which is the exponential growth can not be sustained for much time due to, okay, options are limited space and nutrient. Second is accumulation of toxic agent. Then we have unlimited space and nutrient. And fourth option is accumulation of nutrient agar. Alright, so let's talk about the graph that is obtained during the geometric growth rate. So a typical sigmoidal curve is obtained. Okay, S-shaped curve. This is a sigmoidal curve, or you can also say S-shaped curve. Alright, so this is known as the lag phase. This one is the log phase, also known as the exponential. It's also known as the exponential phase. And in the end, we have the stationary phase. Alright, here we have the time. Here we have the length of the organ or height of any organ like root. So what happens during the lag phase? The growth is very slow. Growth is very slow. Then we have the log phase, also known as the exponential phase. So what happens here? Rapid growth. Occurs here. And what happens during the stationary phase? Here, what happens? The growth now retards, or it slows down, or even stops. Why? Because there is a depletion of the nutrients. Alright. So, again, coming back to the options. Here they are saying the exponential growth, alright, cannot be sustained for the much time because of the limited space and nutrient. So this is true. Okay. And then they are saying accumulation of the toxic agent. So this is also true. So sometimes what happens during the growth, some byproducts are produced which are toxic to the cells or the microorganism, whichever. Okay. Alright. So this is also true, and they act as the toxic agent. These byproducts act as the toxic agent. The third option is unlimited space. This is not true. Space is always limited and nutrients are always limited. Fourth option is accumulation of the nutrient agent. Nutrient agent is not accumulated, but toxic agents are accumulated. So these are the options: 1 and 3, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, and 4 and 2. What is the correct answer? Option C. The next question is, a sigmoidal curve is obtained in geometric growth rate. Why? Because option 1 is it has the lag phase, log phase, and then stationary phase. Second option is one daughter cell remain meristematic while the other daughter cell differentiate and matures. But this happens during the arithmetic growth rate. Alright, so this option is not true. We can discard this. Third option is of the effect of the environment on mitosis. This is also not true. Fourth option is none of the above. So what should be the answer? Answer is option A. It has the lag phase, log phase, and stationary phase. This we have already discussed. And what happens? A sigmoidal curve is obtained, which is S-shaped. Alright. Now coming to the next question. Here they are saying the absolute growth rate is defined as, options are synthesis of new intercellular and extracellular material. This is not true. Option B is measurement and the comparison of total growth per unit time. Now we know that absolute growth rate is growth per unit time, or we can also say it is the actual growth or the total growth. Okay. So option B is measurement and the comparison. There is comparison also of the total growth per unit time. Option C, which is similar to option B, growth of the given system per unit time. So this is not true. Option 4 is increased growth per unit time. So this is a bit tricky question. Okay, all the options are quite similar. But what is the answer? Answer is option B. Absolute growth is defined as the measurement and the comparison of the total growth per unit time. Okay, so this was the end of this session. We will discuss rest of the NCERT based MCQ in the next lecture. Thank you very much for listening.